Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Hub Underground. Matt Dolloff here with Ty Anderson, as we are every single episode. You can get us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also visit 95sports.com and the Sports Hub app. We talk Bruins every week. We got a big Bruins week to recap. We're on YouTube, so if you're an audio-only listener and you want to check us out on YouTube, go check that out. We're a remote episode here for you today. Ty, how you doing? How's Grim? She looks comfortable.
No, she's great. She's great. Ozzy's great. We're all just chilling right now. It's great. It's a good time.
That's good. That's good. It's good that you're chilling. It's not going to be a time to be chilling for us next month. It's going to get squirrely out there. 2 playoff teams, NFL draft. Not looking forward to it personally, but we'll get through it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer this over having nothing to write about and nothing to cover. So, I mean, I'll take it. I kind of lose my mind more in the August and the July than I do the March and the April. So
yeah,
I'm actually looking forward to what we got cooking up here. So let's see.
That's true. At the end of the day, I think I'd rather be stressed than bored, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, and like I think back to like a couple years ago, and the last 2 years, when the Patriots are terrible, and and the Bruins sucked last year. It's good to have all the teams in it. At least we can, we're gonna have something to talk about.
No, absolutely, and I mean, with the Bruins right now, like it's, I completely disagree with, and I like him. I'm not trying to say anything beyond. I just disagree with his take. I think Joe Murray's take about there's no buzz about the Bruins. I think it's very inaccurate. I think there's been buzz about this team for a long time. Maybe there's not buzz among the casuals, but this is as fun a playoff race and as fun a mad dash to the finish line that I've seen in quite some time. And I know he said that like a week ago.
I was
changed in a week, but
was this yesterday with me on the radio? Because I didn't.
No, it was a few weeks ago. But like I think if you're just catching up to the party now, you're jumping on in the right time. But it's been like this for a little while now. I would say that it's been like this really since they came back from the Christmas break. There's been a good buzz and a good energy about this team, and now, the playoffs are in sight, and looks like they are, making a strong finish here.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on the last few weeks of it. I don't remember much of the show yesterday. I lost all sense of time and space during that show. I don't know if you've done a 4-hour show with Joe before. It was great. It was fun, but the clock and the outside world kind of go out the window when you're doing a show with Joe. But yeah, we talked about the Bruins a decent amount whenever we had the time to talk about sports. I don't think he really got into that topic because we talked about the way Jeremy Swayman's playing. So maybe that sort of turned the tide in terms of people thinking there was no buzz about the Bruins, because if they were still letting pucks in left and right and getting bad goaltending, they wouldn't be as high as they are in the standings, and I think the buzz might not be there. But I feel like the buzz is there, especially with the way Swayman has been playing. And then last week, I think the big thing from last week, Ty, is their resilience, because that very easily could have been a 1-2 week. They could have very easily lost 2 games in regulation. Instead, they win one of them, or they win both of them in overtime, actually. The Buffalo game and the Columbus game. But 2 games where self-inflicted mistakes put them behind, and then they find a way to come back. And so, to me, that was great to see. I think you need some of that, because teams are going to get the best of you sometimes. Not every game is going to be perfect. I'd love to see more consistency. The game I went to the other night against the Wild was maybe their best, most complete effort of the season. But then that's sandwiched in between these 2 games that it was an ugly start, but then they had the resilience to come back. And so I think that was great to see, because we've been saying on this pod, like, it's going to come down to this tough schedule down the stretch. How are they going to look? They're not ahead by much. They might blow it. It doesn't feel like they're going to blow it now. They're 90% to make the playoffs. We're at the point that if they miss the playoffs, it's a disappointment and a missed opportunity. That's an example of how expectations can change over the course of the season, which I know we've talked about before with multiple teams in town. But yeah, just their ability to come back, and the way they haven't give up on when they get down like that, and the way they respond. Even when they responded against Buffalo, they go down 3-2. I think the way they responded right after that was impressive too, and so that to me is what stood out, and I think they need it. I think a team like that lacks the skill to just let that skill take over sort of needs that resilience. And so it's good to see them do that in such a critical part of the schedule. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't really have much to add to that, other than like you got to do that, like that, like that's what good teams do. That's how they win games. That's what you have to have that component of your DNA to win hockey games. I think, especially win playoff games. It's something that they've been really good at protecting leads. For the most part, it's working the other way. It's been challenging. So to kind of have that turn the other way this late in the season, like that can mean something. I mean, they have to do something, right, for it to mean something. That's kind of how that goes. But regular season right now, like they're passing all the tests that you could want them to pass, right? I truthfully, I know they were beating themselves up over it, but I didn't care about that loss to Toronto because of how you play around it. Now, you win the game in Detroit. You lose against Toronto, but then you win in Buffalo. You beat Minnesota and you beat Columbus. Now, if that Toronto loss was the start of something worse, then you care about it as much. But they were able to kind of put it in the rearview mirror, and get right back to what they looked like in Detroit. And so I feel like because of that, you feel better about this team. You feel better about where they're going. I still have no idea what you can expect from them in a 7-game series. I think they could either win a series in 5 or lose a series in 5. I just think depends what kind of team you get that day. But right now,
the back-to-back was like a tale of 2 games. Sorry to talk over you, but the back-to-back was like a tale of 2 games to the point you were making.
Yeah, I just feel like you have to, you look at where they are and you like they're passing all the tests right now. And that's what matters, I think, is to be able to do that and to be able to continue to, not only advance your own odds of making it, but beat teams that you may see again down the road, whether that's Buffalo, whether that is, Columbus, perhaps, if Columbus continues to make their charge, that could be a 2nd-round showdown, depending on, if these teams keep playing the way they're playing right now. I think Carolina's going the wrong way, personally. I just feel like, they are passing the test that they have to pass right now. And so I always hate this, right? Like, I hate like this topic of like, well, they're not going to win the cup anyway, so who cares? It's like, okay, then just don't watch then. I don't know. Like they are giving me nothing to complain about right now. Now, I think the biggest thing you can complain about is the power play. But it comes through late. It's a 6-on-4, I know, but it comes through late, and it comes through before the 6-on-4 as well. And so, if you can get timely production out of the things that we're hammering, then you're going to be in a better spot as a team.
Yeah, that take you mentioned, like if that's your take after this recent streak, I mean, you don't deserve to enjoy anything. I think
well, I also just think like you're saying nothing, but you think you're saying something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's the classic, like, oh, they're not going to win championship. It's like, yeah, of course they're not. What do you want me to say? But your dumbass is going to be there front row at the parade if they do, though, right? Like that's my whole thing with that. I hate that opinion. I hate that take.
No, that's basically saying, well, the sun's going to explode one day, so why even care about anything? Nothing matters.
Right.
Nihilism.
No, I think it's worse than that. I think it's being a loser. That's how I look at it. I just think you're being a loser. Like I do. Because what, you can't get hurt? That's your whole thing. It's like, well, if I don't care, I can't get hurt.
Yeah,
no,
defense mechanism.
Feeling is good. I like feeling. Feeling is fun. Like, it's a huge part of being a sports fan. And I think if you rob yourself of that, I think you're a maniac. And I don't think you're actually a sports fan. You're a fan of winning, which is a very different thing. And it's a very, like, I don't know. Like, I just, that's always bothered me. Like that, even when like they were like winning, like, and they had that record-breaking year, I will go to my grave saying the worst thing about that wasn't just them losing in the first round. No. It was all these dummies that were like rooting against it so hard all year long, thinking that they were right because they weren't right, saying, well, they're not going to win a championship. Yeah, man, you got a 31 out of 32% chance of being right. And then you have a 15 of 16% chance of being right in the playoffs. Like, I hate that take. It just bothers me to no end. But so I want to scratch that itch. But I just think right now, like, they're passing all the tests that you'd want them to pass. And that's what's most important, I think, for this team and where they are right now versus where we thought they would be, 6 months ago or whatever. I don't know if you had this prediction or not. Like, I know I did. I thought they'd be the first team out. I thought they would be the 9th team in the Eastern Conference. I thought they would ride their stars into the ground, and then March and April would come around, and they had nothing left in the tank. They're not doing that right now. If anything, their stars are getting stronger as the year has gone on. Pasternak, McAvoy, Swayman. I would even include Zacha in that. These guys are getting better as the games get more important right now.
Yeah, no, they're elevating in critical situations. It's the sign of a playoff team. I think, the roster is built to win in the playoffs. On paper, they're built they're built for the playoffs, I should say, not necessarily win. They play a playoff style when they're at their best, but at the same time, we're talking about human beings. They have to actually elevate their performance and come through in those moments, and they're kind of doing it right now. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, I'm with you that they're overachieving a little bit. I mean, they're a top 10 team in the league. I didn't make an official prediction on where they'd land. I don't think I predicted they'd be like the 8th seed. But I just wanted them to be in the mix for that. I was hoping they'd be in the 15, 16 in the league right now at this point in the year, and they're 8th. So they're one of only 8 teams over 90 points right now. So I think you have to say they've overachieved a little bit, even if you look at individuals. So yeah, no, there's been little to complain about, and especially over the last week. You complain about how they started these games, but they overcame it and won anyway. So I mean, sometimes you have to do that.
I think they're definitely aided by the fact that 3 of the teams that I think we thought would be really good have been bad, and that's Toronto, New York, the Rangers, and Florida. Like that's kind of put the Eastern Conference really. It's really bizarre, right? Because the East is so good, right? But you don't look at the East and go, "Oh, no one's beaten that team. No one's beaten that team in a 7-game series." It's a really unique, I think, conference this year in that regard. Where, I think you could make the case that you probably have between the Bruins, the Jackets, the Red Wings, the Canadiens, the Islanders, and the Penguins, you got 5 or 6 teams that are quote unquote overachieving. I would say.
I think the Eastern Conference playoffs are going to be epic. Like I feel like the West is top heavy, so like the first couple rounds might not be that entertaining, but I feel like the Eastern Conference is going to be like a battle royale, knockdown, drag out fight. I can't wait for that. That's going to be fun, and Bruins are a very high percentage to get in, so hopefully you can't blow it now. I mentioned earlier there was an interesting dichotomy I thought between the 2 games and the back-to-back, and to me it relates to how the forwards played and how they matched up against those teams. I think they match up well against a team like Minnesota, who they've been good at preventing goals this year, but it's not necessarily because they play this big, stout defensive style. It's because they have very skilled defensemen who are skilled at getting the puck out of danger and getting out of there and moving the other way. And they possess the puck so much that, that's sort of how they prevent goals, is by they prevent you from having the puck. I think the Bruins forwards did an amazing job sort of limiting them, sometimes eliminate their opportunities entirely. That you think you saw it on that first shift. The Pasternak line gets in there, immediately gets the forecheck going, and Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber, for all their skill, they don't really want to muck it up in the corners and behind their own net like that. And, they can't handle it. The Bruins forecheck is overwhelming. The coverage sort of, compresses, and Pete gets an open look with the puck and he fires it home. And so I think the Bruins match up well with their forwards and the way they want to play against a defense like that. And I felt the same way after that Montreal game recently, where a smaller, skilled defense, you could probably beat up on them as long as you have forwards that are getting fast into the zone and committing to getting in on the forecheck and fighting those puck battles. And so I thought they did a really great job. You can't really play that kind of style against Columbus. They're bigger, they have skill, but Zach Werenski, he's a do-it-all kind of defenseman. Provorov, similar. You can't really push a team like that around like you can against a Minnesota or a Montreal. And so I thought we saw, similar issues where the Bruins didn't have as much space to work with. They started turning it over. And another angle to that, Ty, in both games, is that the forwards kind of protected their defense by getting that forecheck going. The defense didn't have as many opportunities to turn the puck over in the neutral zone or have this fire drill going on in the defensive end of the ice, because the forwards were sort of controlling things and getting the puck just deep at the other end. Like you never even had to worry about it so much. So you started to see those leaks happen again against Columbus, where they're forcing those defensemen into turnovers. They're putting pressure on them. We saw, even in the Buffalo game, that Mason Lowry turnover, flipped the game. So I think if the Bruins can get in on the forecheck and put pressure on the opposing defense, they can sort of protect their own defense from making those mistakes that have kind of burned them in some of these games and forced them to come back in the first place. But I know it's a long-winded way of saying I think if they get the right matchup, they can make noise in the playoffs. But I think we saw that Columbus game, the kind of team that can give them trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard for me to say what could happen just because we don't know who they're going to play yet. Yeah, I think at any team you kind of look at right now, you can pick one or two things out that will give them fits in a 7-game series. But I think at the same time, there's probably a few things you can point to that they possess. That, oh my God, Ozzy, what are you doing?
Ozzy is doing something.
Yeah, she's being a nightmare right now.
Ozzy was in the screen a little. We had a rare double cat. So
yeah, she's trying to fight the headphone cord right now. It's a whole thing. No, I think, but then there's also things the Bruins can do that can really throw off a team. I don't think Columbus would want the physicality that the Bruins could play with for a 7-game series. I don't think they would really like that. I mean, they do have Miles Wood, they have Eric Branson, but they have Matthew Olivier, but you kind of saw that the way that the Bruins really kind of flipped that game with Jeannot and Kastelik fighting late in the first period. I know they give up another goal and they go down 3-0. It's on the power play, but it felt like from the first intermission on, they rallied around those guys and what they could do. And so I think that at their core, the Bruins' success is going to be rooted in the physicality and how much they're able to get away with in a 7-game series. And, also, I would also say as well, what kind of goaltending you get. If you get the goaltending you got on Sunday, I think you can still win because it was timely saves. It's a rough start for Swayman. 3 goals on 12 shots in the first period, but he was great from that point on. He made some big saves too. They had breakdowns, 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s, 3-on-2s, a few breakaways along the way, and Swayman made some big time stops. And so if he can continue to do that, timely saves allow you to dig out of holes, right? Timely goals allow you to erase deficits. It really comes back to the emotional lift they can get from certain shifts and certain moments in games, right? That was something that I thought was a big problem for them a year ago. A big problem for them a year ago was that they would have a great shift. They would pepper the goalie. They'd have possession for a minute and a half, and then they go down the ice, and the first shot was in the back of the net. You're like, all right, never mind. There goes all that momentum, right? And so riding the wave, I think, is something that this team has been really good at this year. And they're going to have to do that in the playoffs because you've seen it. No matter if you're a 1 seed or an 8 seed or a 7 seed, the momentum can be really challenging. It can be really hard to slow things down in the playoffs when everything gets ramped up, right? And so I feel like if I were giving you a reason, Matt, why I like the Bruins in a 7-game series, it is that ability to create their own momentum and then ride the wave to the right direction that it needs to go in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo, obviously last night, but Buffalo too, it showed how they can really pick up momentum from, even just a little play, like a little block shot from Jonathan Aspero gets the play going the other way and they score 5 seconds later against Minnesota. It's even on little plays, little moments in the game where they just get that one little spark and then they can sort of get rolling in the right direction. So I completely agree with that. I didn't mean to say Columbus is the toughest team in the league. Obviously, they have some tough guys. I just mean they're bigger. I just feel at the end of the day, the Bruins do need to play the style you're talking about. Regardless, they don't have the talent or the depth to be able to play any game they want. They kind of just have to play that attacking, aggressive, momentum kind of game with a couple of Kastelik fights sprinkled in between. Mm-hmm. But it just depends on who they're playing, how much success they could potentially have with it. But to your point, I think you saw late in that game where they started to sort of wear Columbus down and they started to get more opportunities because of it. And I think you saw on the Charlie McAvoy goal, Pavel Zacha gets in there and gets down low and protects the puck and just chips it back up to McAvoy. We can get to him if you want the year he's having. But 2 more goals and an assist for Zacha, and I think you saw even on that play just the little forecheck and the chip, and then McAvoy attacks. McAvoy's been playing great too lately. So I think with those guys playing the way they are, especially when you get to the third period and you're starting to come back and you're putting pressure on them and you're wearing the opponent down. Like, I feel like they can compete with anyone. I feel like that Minnesota game showed that they can compete with anyone. Zaka himself said after the game, I think if we play the right way, we can compete with anyone. Like, I tend to agree with him on that one. I think they're ultimately, you forced me to make a prediction. I think they come up short in the playoffs because they just run into a more skilled team that actually finishes. I think Columbus, they got a pretty good all around team. A lot of guys that can play that all around game, just not quite enough finish there. So I think that's the reason that either of these teams are going to come up short. But I think that play style just lends itself to the playoffs, and I think people might be surprised because there's a lot of people out there, I think, Ty, that follow the league that are still obsessed with the whole speed and skill thing and think that's all you need to win. Where I think the way the Bruins play is a winning style. And I don't know that they have the talent or the finish to really get as far as we hope, but I think they can give trouble regardless of who they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need elite players to win a championship. I think that's kind of been made obvious now, really, since 2021, 22. I think you look at every cup winner, they have talent on talent on talent, and so I think that's a huge part of it, but you need a balance, right? I think that this team could go on a 3-round run. I don't think they can go on a 4-round run. I think if everything works out their way, like they get the goods to make it to the conference finals. Again, it's going to be very matchup dependent. But if they draw, let's say it ends today, right? And they draw into the Metro bracket, which is where they would.
Yeah,
right
they can
now
get to the conference final if they get in that.
If they have to go through Carolina, the Islanders, and the Penguins, they could easily win 2 rounds. I think if they have to go through Montreal and they don't have home ice and they got to go to the Bell Center where a player falls down, the whole crowd is on the referee begging for a penalty. Which, God, I forgot how annoying that is. I forgot how annoying that is just to experience as an observer.
You hear them all erupt, and then it slowly turns into booze. Like no matter what the play was,
no matter what,
if it was clearly not a penalty.
Buffalo, I can't get a read on Buffalo. I think the Bruins play Buffalo well. We haven't seen Buffalo in the spot in 15 years, so we don't know how a lot of their guys are going to be playing in the playoffs. Is the moment too big for them? I don't know. Tampa is Tampa, right? But Vasilevsky's been pretty shaky since the Olympic break. I would say. I think at one point, last I looked, like a week ago, we had like an 880. Since coming back. So, but he can turn it on. You know what I mean? So you never quite know. With that team, you say that, right? You always say you can turn it back on, but then last year against Florida, he was pretty garbage in that playoff round. So you never know, right? Mm-hmm. And the Bruins, last time they saw him, put 5 goals on him. Right now they lost that game. We all have to acknowledge, but it was a good game. In terms of scoring and getting chances, that was a good game for the Bruins. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like it really comes down to where they slot in, but if they can finish like this and they can ride this wave right now they're on, they can be dangerous, man. They really could be. I just feel like that second line is going so strong. And, I think Charlie McAvoy is making you mentioned him. I think he's making a late season push for the Norris.
Yeah, I saw your tweet about that.
He's now top 10 in scoring among defensemen. If you take away, if you look at it in segments, right? Look at it when the injury occurred. He was top 15 in scoring among defensemen. If you look at him since coming back, he's top 10 among defensemen in scoring. He's been this guy all year long. The only reason why he doesn't have 70 points is because he missed a month because of the injury. That might be the only reason why he's not more in the conversation right now. But if you look at his play right now, he is absolutely fantastic for them. He has really stepped up, I think, since the Olympics. I think, he's feeling the energy. He's feeling the vibe of the team and getting back to the playoffs. I think, McAvoy wasn't bullshitting a year ago, and he was like, I never want to feel this way again. He's like, this is my first time not making the playoffs. This sucks. Think about that. The first time he's never made the playoffs in his career. He's playing like a man who does not want to be on the couch in April. He's playing like he wants to be back on that big stage next month.
Anyone who follows the league and watches the playoffs know how big of a difference that can make. when you have a defenseman that can control the game all 200 feet like that. So, yeah, I really hope he keeps it up. Obviously, stays healthy. I did want to ask you about the Norris thing. Like, yeah, he's top 10 in scoring, but like, what could get him into the top 3? Like, what do you think the voters are looking at? We're like,
voters snapping out of this mindset of points equals good defenseman. I mean, I think
right.
that's
Like, are they just going to give it to Evan Bouchard this year, who's like a
Oh, I sure hope
defenseman?
not. I really hope not, because
It's a
that'd
one-way
be
scoring defenseman.
yeah, as an absolute merchant for McDavid and Draisaitl, 2 pretty good players, as it turns out. No, that'd be a real dumb thing, and I mean, whatever. People have their opinions on it. Like, I think you need to have some sort of balance. Like I like Werenski, I like Makar, I like Hughes, I like Dahlin. You know, I think like you need to be able to be someone who controls the tempo in all 3 zones. Like, that's something that I'm very big on. You know, I even like Lane Hudson. I think Lane Hudson, the way that he impacts the pace of play, I think is very impressive, you know, and that's a guy that I would put in that conversation as well. But you got to be somebody that I think does it all. And I'm not, but by does it all, I don't necessarily mean like, oh, you better be killing penalties, but no, like, are you able to make plays in your D zone that impact the game going the other way? Like, I don't need a guy averaging 5 minutes on the PK a night. I do need him, though, to like be able to flip a game, right? To flip a game on its head with the way he plays. Like, I would even include, and I don't know if like it all, like, I'm weird with this too. Like, I would include, I think Mo Sider is currently in my top 5 because of how important he is to Detroit and how he plays every situation, every role, every minute, it feels like, of crunch time for that team. And so this is a really tight Norris race this year. But I think that might actually help McAvoy, given what we're talking about, right? Like, you've always had the gaudy point totals, but I feel like now, perhaps because Bouchard is leading the way there with like 85 points, whatever it is.
Yeah, 86.
Maybe that is now forcing people to say, I really don't want to give it to him. Because I just, I don't know. And now they're looking under the hood more than they were, and they're seeing some of the defensive impacts and some of the, you know, the hits, the block shots, the time on ice, the situation, the crunch time, like whatever it may be. And that may help a guy like McAvoy. But I hope we snap out of this scoring equals Norris thing. I really don't care for it. And you know, I know there are NHL players who don't care for it either. Like, I know about this, that there are guys that don't love how the award has kind of been awarded recently. So I would love it if it got back to the most complete game-breaking, game-changing defenseman, which is probably Cale Makar. I have to say that, but I do think that it would help McAvoy get some more votes for sure.
Yeah, but I get it with Makar, but like that would be annoying too, because it's like, just give it to the best player. It's like when Mike Trout used to win MVP every year, even though the Angels sucked. Like, this is too much. It's more to my developing argument I've been making over there. It's like they got to come up with a new trophy. Like, just come up with the Paul Coffey Trophy, and it's the best like offensive defenseman, or like whatever defenseman leads the league in points by a defenseman. Like, that guy just wins a trophy. It's like the Art Ross for defensemen. They need to come up with that and then give the Norris to the best all around guys. So like, yeah, like just looking at that, my finalists would be Werenski, Makar, and then that third spot you got Dahlin, McAvoy, Miro Heiskanen, maybe Darren Radish. I didn't realize how productive he is. For some reason, I thought he was like a pure defensive guy. 66 points in 66 games. Darren Radish.
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard to say. Because so you get 5 picks. You get 5 picks and 3 finalists.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably go Werenski 1. I would probably go. I'd probably go Makar 2. I think I would go. I'd probably go Mo Sider 3 right now. And then maybe Lane Hudson. It's really hard. Like it is a very hard award, I think, more this year than ever. But like an example, like kind of like what you're talking about would be like if you had it your way, Matt, and I had it my way, we'd be voting for like who's Nick Lidstrom and Chris Pronger and like Brian Rafalski, where like you are playing every minute, every situation, like a guy that is not going to get any love, but like arguably should, given his usage, is Jackson Lacombe from Anaheim. Really good defenseman, was on Team USA. Like but he's not going to have the gaudy point totals, right? Like he might be the new McAvoy, where it's like, yeah, man, you're a great defenseman, but like you're never going to hit 60 points, 70 points. Like, so I don't know. You ever going to get to where you got to be to get the votes? I don't know. I feel like McAvoy, ironically enough, now that he has the point totals, people might notice everything else he does well as well.
Yeah, just looking at it. Sorry, I lost it. Lacombe.
No, you're good.
Where is he? A little over 24 minutes a game. He's 18th in the league. Only 51 points. Piece of shit.
Right. What a bum. What a scumbag.
Quinn Hughes Quinn Hughes is averaging almost 28 minutes a game.
Yeah, he played
47.
He played 31 minutes against Boston the other day. Couldn't believe it.
God.
I mean, that's just an average day for him, but like cracks me up.
Yeah. Like I was surprised at how much they were able to like sort of disrupt him and get him all verklempt in his own end.
Yeah, there was one shift where you could tell that Pastrnak was just shadowing him. That was like Pasternak's role, was just shadow Quinn Hughes, following him all over the ice. It was wild. Really good.
I enjoyed it.
I like those power on power kind of showdowns. Big fan.
Yeah. Well, I like that Sturm kind of Belichicked it with that one. It's like, I bet you're not going to see this coming.
Yeah, right.
Have a designated forechecker, and it's going to be our one guy that can score every game.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's funny too because like even guys like down in Tampa, like JJ Moser is a guy that probably should be getting more love than he is, I would imagine, because like how many people out there are going, oh, JJ Moser, yeah, that guy should definitely be a Norris winner. Like he's been awesome. I think, he's got a plus 44 this year for the Lightning. Only 27 points, so he's not going to be getting any votes. But that's a guy who I think is a great defenseman. You watch him play, and you're like, damn, this guy can move.
Yeah, I think there needs to be either come up with an Art Ross type trophy for the defenseman, or come up with the best defensive defenseman. Add a trophy for defenseman, unless you're going to be perfect with your best all-around defenseman voting for the Norris. Like I think that's just flawed, and I think we need to figure out a way to get Charlie McAvoy at least more consideration. But just to circle it all the way back to McAvoy, I think what's standing out is that he's really driving things offensively. He sparked the first Elias Lindholm goal the other night with the shot. Obviously the goal last night, that was, he sort of, or was that I keep saying it was the McAvoy goal, but I think it was a Zacha tip actually.
On what? Sorry, which game?
Last night in Columbus.
McAvoy gets the first goal, and then Zacha gets the second one on a tip. Both of which are McAvoy shots, though.
Okay, so I'm combining the two then.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he's been aggressive. Like we've been saying for years, he should kind of shoot the puck more, or like even just like attack the net more. Like you just fire the puck at the net. I feel like he does too much trying to like skate, stick handle, and find the perfect angle. Like no, just be aggressive. And I think he's being more aggressive, and I think that's really sort of helped. I also think there's a lot of credit due to Jonathan Aspero. I think they really found something good with him being the partner for McAvoy. And I've been saying a long time that like I think you could compliment him with a nice, responsible, stay-at-home defenseman kind of guy. Not that Aspero isn't that, but Aspero is just like, he just makes good decisions with the puck a lot of the time. Like if you're not putting too much pressure on him, force him into turnovers. Like he's been good he's really good at like just settling things down with the puck. I think we saw a few plays like that in Columbus where there was, they were threatening to get a rush going the other way, but he just sort of settled it down and got the puck back going in the positive direction. I think that is a good partner for McAvoy, where like I think McAvoy feels comfortable being aggressive because he knows a guy that's sort of comfortable behind him with the Aspero, and maybe a slightly more physically or athletically gifted, talented version of Aspero might be the perfect partner for McAvoy. But I think a guy that plays like Aspero is kind of ideal for McAvoy. With he can move the puck a little bit, and he makes good decisions. He doesn't make it hard on McAvoy. He makes it easy for him, and sort of facilitates his ability to be more aggressive, moving, pushing the pace and moving the puck up ice. And so I think the partnership has really worked out. But I think McAvoy, obviously I think he's been playing great, and I think the key to that is that he's being more aggressive with the puck and, just moving the puck up ice on offense.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And I think with McAvoy, it's clear he's not a babysitter. I don't think that's I don't fault him for that, but not everyone can be Chara, babysitting a pairing partner for, and making them into a top 4 guy. That was something the Bruins, I think, I don't want to say they took advantage of it or whatnot. I don't think they appreciated enough how hard of a skill set that is, where you can basically say, yeah, we're going to put Zach Trotman next to you. And Chara's like, okay, cool. I'll make him fine. It's a unique skill set to have. Right. And so I think that's one thing we know about Charlie McAvoy right now is that he might develop that skill over time, but I don't think saying, hey, you got to babysit Mason Lohrei, who, by the way, has been better since the trade rumors. But I don't think that saying, hey, you got to babysit Mason Lohrei is going to allow Charlie McAvoy to fully be Charlie McAvoy, to your point.
Yeah, no, I think he benefits from a guy that, he frees him up to basically do his thing, and he doesn't have to worry about the guy behind him. And I think, Aspero, I think that since he came up, has been like, I think might have been his first game where it's like, I kind of like this Aspero guy. He's kind of, I've hated how squirrely the Bruins get on defense sometimes with the way they, just how they move the puck. And I think we've even seen some of it recently, and it's put them behind, but you really don't see as much of that with Aspero as you would expect for a guy that kind of came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, that's been good to see. Okay, before we get out of here, Ty, I do want to touch on
this dickhead cat is just sitting in front of me, just knocking shit off the counter and staring at me. She's such a dick. Aussie is such a dick. I love her, but she is the biggest jerk cat I've ever had in my entire life.
Having a bad day.
I've only had sweet babies in my life, and she's just pure sour. Pure, you got some sweet, some sour. She is pure sour. I shouldn't say that, but she's a very sweet girl. But when she wants attention, she's just like, I'm gonna fuck up your whole day, and I don't care.
What was that candy that was sweet and sour? What was it called?
Sour Patch Kids?
No, Spree is what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, maybe. I thought Spree was just sweet all the time.
I remember. I could be wrong. Yeah, maybe. There was a candy where it's like they sold it as you got the sweet and you got the sour. But I think this might have been pre-Sour Patch Kids. I
don't know. I can't remember.
Now I got to look it up.
Yeah.
There's probably a commercial on YouTube. I'll find it. I think the last time Ozzy was on camera, she was knocking shit off your dresser.
Yeah, that sounds like her.
Yeah. You were set up in your bedroom and you had, a can of something on your dresser and she was just knocking it off.
Yeah, no, that's her. That's her to a T.
And you want Stella?
No, it's all right.
Stella's very nice and chill.
Yeah.
She might yell at you to pet her, but I mean, that's a cat owner won't say no to that.
No, exactly. No. But sorry, what were you saying before we wrap up today?
Oh, James Hagens. We gotta touch on that. He's played a couple games in Providence. He started to look comfortable. I haven't seen a lot of it. I watched some of the first game. I only saw the highlights of the second one, but he's coming as advertised when it comes to how he skates, how he, just how deft he is carrying the puck, how he can just slip through defenders, regardless of what they do with his skating ability. And then I think we saw last night with the Georgi Merkulov goal, or it was, over the weekend, whenever it was, that he could turn nothing into something instantly with the way he can see the ice and move the puck. And I think that's what we saw with the way he moved it to Merkulov. You know better than me with your experience covering the team, Ty, and how tied in you are and your deep knowledge and experience. Does it mean anything that Don Sweeney and Adam McQuaid were down there watching Hagens? Was this potentially a tryout for them to say, maybe we can bring this guy up late in the season? Or do you think maybe they've made their decision already and this was already pre-planned that they were going to go watch him and just see how it's going? Because my whole thing with Hagens wasn't that he had to be in the NHL immediately. It was that it felt like they didn't want to bring him up at all. And so I was feeling pretty shitty about that because I thought they were going to bring him up at some point. I was like, okay, if you want to send him down for a couple games, that's fine, but you're going to bring him up at some point, right? I was worried that they weren't going to bring him up at all. Welcome back, Grim.
Yeah.
The fact that they're down there, does that mean anything? Do you think there's a chance that they might actually call him up?
I mean, it's possible. I wonder how many more games do you want to give to Lucas Reichel? I don't think Reichel is playing poorly, but I don't really think he's making a difference on that line. Do you? I don't know.
No.
Like he has speed, right, which is great, but so does James Hagens.
Yeah.
I just feel like you're approaching the window here where you're kind of like, all right. I think maybe they're slowly but surely realizing what people like myself were saying off the jump. Why I was saying bring him up to the NHL right away. I was saying, well, you have Geeky and Lindholm, and this kid could probably get those guys going, and they're good players for him to be playing with, right? As an intro to the NHL. So I don't know. I mean, I think them getting a closer look is all part of the process here. They couldn't on Wednesday, and they arguably couldn't on Saturday because of, it's a 5:00 game in Boston and it's a 7:00 game down in Providence. But, Sunday you're able to say, yeah, we'll skip the Columbus game because like we're not making a roster move, let's get a hands on down the road here in Providence. Let's get a look at him. And so I feel like it may have been timing as to why he was down there directly, but would it surprise me if he makes his NHL debut between now and the end of the season? No, it would not. It would not, because I don't think that you're getting enough out of Reichel to warrant keeping him in the lineup. Oh, you can't dare take out Lucas Reichel. I think you're starting to see that Lucas Reichel has limitations, and this is why he's on his third team in 5 years, despite being a first-round pick, back in 2020.
Right.
And so I just feel like you kind of look at where that is right now, and you might be getting there soon. I would wonder if the Bruins want to lock down a playoff spot before they bring Hagens in. Almost like because once you make that move, you can't send him back down to Providence to play in the Calder Cup playoffs, right?
He literally ineligible, right?
Yeah, because he signed after the deadline. So
Yeah.
so he couldn't do that for them. He can if he's on an ATO, but he can't if he signs his contract. And so there is some hedging your bets here to a certain degree, right? And so I do wonder if that's a factor as well. I can't imagine it being a huge factor, but I think you give Reichel maybe 2 or 3 more games, and if that doesn't work, I don't know. Do you put Asamont or Steves back in there, or do you give the call to the kid and say, "Hey, come on up. We're basically in. Help us get across the finish line, and then we're gonna see if you're ready to go." I don't know. Like, I think they want him playing games right now, and so it's about what gets in the most games played. I think Providence had a great year. Providence has had a great year. Are they a lock to go on a Calder Cup run? I don't think so. I've seen this before. They've been a good team for a long time, and they still somehow always lose in the first or second round, it feels like. So
I don't care if it's a Calder Cup. Like the players, sure, care about it, but I don't care.
Yeah.
About winning
Well, I think they would care about it. Like if you're not totally in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, right? And you bring up Hagens when you're a coin flip to get in, which could have been the case had they lost the last 3 games. Then you're kind of like, I'd rather than play in Providence than maybe play 3 games in Boston and that's it. But like if you punch your ticket to a playoff round and you know that you can get James Hagens 6 games at least of playoff experience in the NHL, that might outweigh 10 games of Calder Cup playoff experience. You know what I'm saying? Like not all playoff games are made equally. That's sort of what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I think when you factor everything in and the fact that they're going to burn the first year of the entry level contract anyway, make sure it's the Stanley Cup playoffs. So it's like you understand the being a little patient with it.
Yeah.
But I do still think they should bring them up.
But I don't know what they're going to do. Like I'm completely honest when I say I don't know what they're going to do. I don't, because I didn't foresee James Hagens agreeing to the ATO. Like everything that was kind of said to me was like, he really wants to play in the NHL. He really wants to do that. And to get him to play ball is a great first step for the Boston Bruins and James Hagens in their relationship. But B, it throws a complete wrench in like what I expect or what I think could happen between now and the end of the season for both Providence and Boston. Like I don't know what he's going to do because of the fact they were able to get him to play ball, right? The fact they were able to get him to agree to go down to Providence and not burn the year right away, which, by the way, they're having a hard time apparently doing that with Andre Gasseau, a 7th-round pick, who wants to play in the NHL right away.
I wanted to ask you about this too.
Yeah.
His agent is like, we want to play in the NHL. The Bruins must sign me by this date or else.
Yeah.
Are they looking at him like, yeah, you're Andre Gasseau. Go do what you want to do. I don't know.
It's wild. And so two things here caught my eye when it comes to this situation. One of which is that his agent is Pat Brisson, which I could not believe. Do you know who Pat Brisson represents? He represents Nate McKinnon and Connor Bedard and John Tavares and star players. I'm like, how the hell did Andre Gasseau get Pat Brisson as his agent? Like that kind of blew my mind. First of all, but it kind of speaks to the potential. I don't know what you want to call it, the belief in the agent to get what he wants. Also, Pat Brisson represents the Hughes and Seth Jones, and I'm looking this up now. Trevor Zegras, Jonathan Marchessault. This isn't he represents 5 players on the NCAA. No, he's got a top dog agent for someone who is the 7th-round pick of the Boston Bruins. You know what? That's kind of wild to me.
That is random.
Yeah, I think. Well, so Gasseau is based out of, or he's from LA, and I want to say that Pat Brisson is based out of, because he's CAA, which I believe is based out of LA. So it might just be because he was in the backyard. You know what I mean? They're able to make it work. But having an agent like that, I think maybe gives the player more cachet or more belief to kind of pick his own path and do what he wants to do. It would be a bummer to me to lose Gasseau because I actually do think he could be a good pro. I don't think that he's an NHL right away kind of guy though. I don't know. In my opinion, if Hagens was not an NHL right away guy, and if Don Schmelis was not an NHL guy right away, I don't think Andre Gasseau is an NHL right away kind of guy. That's something that could actually impact the room negatively. You know what I mean? Because who? He's 7th-round pick. We're just giving him a game. That's something that could actually be a culture thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that would be weird. That was another thing I had with the Hagens. Imagine you have a rash of injuries like you did in 2017 when you were forced to call McAvoy up.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to throw Asamont and Steves, and then we're going to sign Andre Gasseau to his ELC before bringing Hagens up. That would be frustrating, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. He's looking pretty good in Providence, and I think they should bring him up. And I get that they might want to clinch the playoff spot first. Feels like they might, the way it's going right now.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, though, about Hagens bringing to the on-ice play versus, all the stuff we don't know, what I like about him is that he shoots the puck, not afraid to hammer it on goal. He had, I believe, I was able to watch a little bit of the game yesterday before/during the Bruins. He had 3 shots on goal, I think, in the first period alone. On Sunday's game. He is not afraid to shoot the puck. And I think what's great about that is that he scores on Saturday, and on Sunday, he's right back to shooting the puck. It's almost like the bell went off where it's I like that feeling. Let's keep doing it, but I think what's clear, Matt, about watching him in Providence and why I would want to bring him up to Boston is that he's the most talented player on the ice, and he's making plays happen. And I don't think he's with the right talent to capitalize on those plays, right? Merkelov is a great AHL scorer, but you kind of saw it before they made that switch. He's playing with Patrick Brown and Matej Blumel. It's kind of he was making plays, but they're not helping him. They're not finishing for him, right? And so I feel like if you get him in the NHL where he's playing with guys like a Morgan Geekie or Elias Lindholm or David Pastrnak on the power play, you might get more results right away and worry less about the details because he's scoring right away.
Yeah, you need guys that are ready for it. The way he sees the ice and anticipates is ridiculous. He sees a scoring chance before anybody else sees it. So you kind of need a similar instinctive guy that knows a pass could be coming at any moment. At any moment, he could all of a sudden have the puck on his stick and a wide open scoring chance because he has this ridiculous playmaker with him. I feel I still want to see if he can come up and just be the guy to break Morgan Geekie out of the slump. Maybe he could be the key to unlocking that.
No, I agree. I mean, it's a very it's a unique situation for them right now because I do feel like they need to get those guys going 5-on-5. Geeky, I've always said, I don't worry about him so long as he's shooting the puck. Hasn't been shooting as much lately, right? And so you got to get him firing again. And the thing I struggle with Lindholm, and I know he had a pair of goals the other day. One was empty netter. The thing I struggle with Lindholm is that, especially as it relates to playing with Geeky, is that I don't feel like Lindholm has that next gear, that next step. Like oh, the play is intensifying, the play is getting faster. Can you get to that next level? Like he's steady, almost to a fault, right? Where like
Right. He's like
I
a
don't feel like he
constant.
can get going, get on the horse. You know what I mean? Like I just don't feel like he can do that.
Right. When you're a constant 7, that can be a detriment when the situation calls for you to be at a 9.
Right.
Is
Exactly.
what you're saying. So
Yeah.
those guys can be a steadying presence, but like you can't really count on them to come through in those big moments. Like not unlike a heroic clutch player like Pavel Zacha.
True. Pavel
That's
Zacha has been, I think, an underrated candidate for team MVP. I think if you were doing the Boston Bruins version of the Hart Trophy, I think Pavel Zacha would be a solid third place finish behind Swayman and McAvoy right now.
I think you're not going to get much pushback from me on that one. I thought it was interesting that Victor Arvidsson was talking the other night, and I think Middlestead has said this before, how he's really developed his 200-foot game, and that makes it's almost like the same thing with McAvoy and Aspro, where it makes them more comfortable to be their usual like aggressive, selves on offense, because they know they have this guy that they can trust to play that 200-foot game, win the puck battle, get the puck going the other way, and then they can just do their thing. And so it's not just the fact that he's scoring, it's the fact that he's making his line mates more comfortable too, and they have such good chemistry. It's like they've been greater than the sum of their parts, that line, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right. We got to get to one more thing before we get out of here, Ty. Well, first a cat update. Grim, stoic, staring right at me is how it feels right now.
Yep, she is.
Your screen was shaking earlier. I was worried that Ozzy was about to close your monitor on.
Yeah, she contemplated it. Yeah.
Oh, what an a-hole. Grim, you're cool. Ozzy, go take a timeout. I need to ask you about Bruce Cassidy getting fired, getting replaced by John Tortorella of all people. I really want to know what's going on behind the scenes there. Like, I'm not surprised that Cassidy got fired. He just has that track record of wearing out his welcome. And it even felt like it kind of came out of nowhere when he got dismissed here, where it's like, oh, I thought they were doing pretty good. That was interesting, but I guess it just sort of gets to a point where there's enough players internally that get sort of sick of how it is behind the scenes with him, and that's how it is. But it's a very interesting move to replace him with Tortorella, who's a classic whip him into shape, be a complete a-hole kind of coach. They didn't go in the opposite direction; they went further in the same direction with Tortorella, who's coming out of the TV booth to be a coach again. I don't think he forgot how to coach, but like, we all know the Tortorella experience, and we'll see if it gives them a spark. I thought the timing of it was crazy. I don't know your thoughts on that whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, what I can tell you is that John Tortorella is not the boogeyman that he's been made out to be. Talked to countless players that are coached by John Tortorella, and they absolutely loved him. I think he's a guy that if you don't like the way he's coaching you, it's more a reflection on you than it is on John. That's a real thing that I have found to be true with what the stories I've been told by players that played for him. Nick Foligno was a guy who played for him. Nick Foligno loved him. I know Sarah Sivian wrote about him as well, but Cam Atkinson, another guy that has nothing but praise for John Tortorella. But I do think that this is a move that is not so much about Bruce Cassidy, but about a panicky GM trying to save his own job. And look at what Vegas has done since winning the cup in 2023. They've gone backwards. they've gone backwards, and I don't think they've gone backwards because of Bruce Cassidy. I think they've gone backwards because of the inattention to goaltending. I think they got great goaltending out of Adin Hill, but he was sort of a one-year wonder. He was not the long-term solution for them. You look at what they've done with this team this year. I mean, they've had a great defensive system. They've had a lack of finish, and they haven't risen to the challenge against playoff caliber teams. That, I think that's the biggest thing you can say about Bruce Cassidy, is that for whatever reason, the team wasn't getting up for games the way they had in previous years. But it comes back to goaltending, man. Like, you got two guys that are posting like dueling 880s. You're not going to win many hockey games, right? It never made a lick of sense to me why they were so horny for Rasmus Anderson. You don't need Rasmus Anderson. You need a goalie. What are you doing? But they have a GM and a front office that has almost taken on like this personality is like a bit for them almost. Where it's like, oh, star player, we got to get him. Why? Because you've done it before? It's like you're letting like the jokes about your team become reality. And you have to hit a point where you go, you know what? We don't need another star defenseman. We don't. We got a good defensive grouping. Let's see what we got with, Zach Whitecloud's on a good contract. We got the picks. Let's not trade the picks. Let's just keep Whitecloud. They have this like star fetish down in Vegas for whatever reason that I think is finally doing them in. I think it's finally hurting them that you can only go out and acquire stars so many times in this league before you go, oh shit, we've ignored goaltending for like 3 years now. That sucks. We need a star goalie. I just think that's how I look at the situation, because I can tell you from what I know, there are countless players in that room, in that Vegas room, that loved Bruce Cassidy. Loved him. Jack Eichel loves him. Mitch Marner loves him. Like, it was not about Bruce Cassidy, the personality. I think it was about the GM needing to save his job and finding a scapegoat. I think goaltending is their biggest problem. I don't think Tortorella is going to get them to keep the puck out of the back of the net. Maybe he does, but I just feel like their problems go beyond Bruce Cassidy, in my opinion.
Well, I appreciate your unique perspective on the thing. I feel like I had the surface level, what everyone else thought about the news when it came out. I think that's a interesting perspective that I haven't heard.
Yeah,
the Tortorella part, it's like maybe it's just a misconception because he always, for all his spats in the media, he does kind of have his players back. He doesn't go and throw them under the bus to the media. A lot of his back and forths with reporters are from a place of like defending his players. So I guess maybe there is something to like, some of the players love him. It's probably more like a you love him or hate him kind of thing, right? Like if you do have to be tough to handle a coach like him. Yeah. And the league is filled with tough players. So it's like, I guess maybe that's it. I'm a little surprised that Cassidy wasn't an issue at all. And it's just the GM trying to save his job. Like that is interesting. But it does feel like that approach is catching up to them, because it's like for years they just keep getting the star. They keep getting the big free agent, the big trade acquisition. It's like, how are they continually doing this? Like you got to draft, you got to use your draft picks at some point.
Well, there's a limit.
Maybe it's catching up to them.
I think it totally is. I mean, you look at sort of, what they've had to do in recent years to keep it all together. Like they've had to move on from certain players that I don't think they want to move on from. They've had to move on from, well, this guy's an upgrade. Well, according to who? Like according to the box score, sure, but like I don't know. Like I look at a guy like like Zach Whitecloud is such a success story for them. He's great, and he's on a good contract, and they traded him to bring in Rasmus Anderson, and talking to people in Vegas, I was like, hey, how's Anderson doing? They're like, he's going. I'm like, whoa, yeah, not great, and no, he has been good there. I think a goaltender would have helped them out way more than Rasmus Anderson would have helped them out, and I just feel like this is a fallout of that move kind of not working out for them right now. It hasn't worked out for them. I think Anderson is probably going to get let go in the summer and find a new team. I don't think Vegas is going to try to keep him. I really don't think they're going to try to keep him. So I just feel like this is a GM buyer's remorse, whatever it is, and trying to make one last, desperation kind of move to keep the season afloat. And I to be clear, like, I don't know that there was nothing involving Bruce and the players. I'm going off what I've been told. I know Elliot had a report today about they had a meeting in the summer or during the playoffs at the players and Bruce. It was a pretty tense meeting. I mean, that's hockey. Those happen in Boston too. You didn't get fired when they first happened. They got fired when they took a step back in the playoffs and the team felt they had to do something different. But I look at this move as someone who has seen this happen before. Like, I think this is a GM trying to panic and save his job.
And so, like, I mean, are they actually going to fall out of the playoffs? Because
They could.
I just assumed they were a playoff team.
They could. The problem is, like, the East is like Godzilla versus Godzilla. In the West is a joke right now. I mean, you can get in with a losing record basically in the Western Conference right now, and so
80 points, the Golden Knights.
I think Vegas has lost 12 of 17. I think that probably played a factor as well. But again, they can't stop a beach ball right now.
Yeah, Utah's in the wild card, and they have 2 more points than Vegas. Like, LA could jump from the wild card straight over Vegas into their division. So, well, all right. Yeah. Top heavy Western Conference, very balanced Eastern Conference. So
the question is, where does Bruce go next? That's what I'd wonder. Where does he go next?
I did like the take I saw from someone on Twitter that he needs to put him on the Leafs so they win out and they hurt their draft spot.
I mean, he'd make a lot of sense for Toronto. I know that people mock him and laugh at him, but Austin Matthews is one hell of a good two-way center, in my opinion. And then, I think you saw what Bruce did with Eichel. Obviously, having the experience with Bergeron, like, I think that'd be a dangerous fit there. I would wonder about
Ottawa.
So Ottawa, they're playing so well right now down the stretch that I don't think they're going to make a move there with Travis Green. Bruce is from Ottawa, so that'd be a homecoming for him. But Travis Green is doing enough to keep his job right now, in my opinion.
Detroit's a team that's sort of falling off. So maybe they would want to make a change.
They could. I think Edmonton. I think it'd be a good fit for Edmonton if he wanted to go there.
That would be a hell of a story if Bruce Cassidy is the one that get McDavid his first cup.
Right. I would argue. I mean, I would argue Nashville. I think that would be a good fit for him. I would argue LA would be a good fit too. I know LA fired Jim Hiller. I forget who took over for Jim Hiller, but like they don't have a long-term solution there yet, I don't believe. So that could be one as well. He's gonna find work real quick though, I would bet. I would bet that. So he's gonna have his pick of the litter, but it's gonna be interesting to see like, how do teams move now that Bruce Cassidy is available? Like, does someone make a change that we're not expecting because he's available, or what happens there? I would wonder. But what's crazy though is like, so now Spencer Carberry, who was up for the job in Boston, before they gave it to Montgomery, is now the 6th longest tenured head coach, and he started in 2023. Like, that's crazy to me. It's unbelievable how short the shelf life is for these guys now. It's unbelievable. I think you got to snap out of that at a certain point too. I just do. You can't develop a program if you're constantly changing the head coach. And I think it's funny. Look at the 2 teams that have the longest coaching tenure, or the 3 teams that have the longest coaching tenures right now in the NHL. It's Carolina, always a threat. It's Tampa Bay, always a threat. And Colorado, always a threat. Like, what do they all have in common? They haven't changed coaches every 2-3 years.
That's true. Yeah, like generally the shelf life is not good, which is why, like, can we give Sturm at least 4 or 5 years here? I really hope that Don Sweeney doesn't do like what you're talking about with the Vegas GM, like he makes a desperation move to save his job or whatever. That's hopefully years into the future. All right, Ty. Well, I think we've touched on all the hot button Bruins topics, hockey topics for one episode. We good. This might be our longest YouTube episode ever. We are well over an hour at this point, so I appreciate you taking the time to talk about this stuff, and I appreciate Grim and maybe Ozzy kind of calming down and letting us finish here. before they completely destroy their place and we have to call the police on them.
Naturally.
Any closing thoughts for us, Ty? No?
Nope, I got nothing. Thank you for dealing with me being sick. My voice is kind of shot. It's been hard for me to talk these last few days. So
I wanted to filibuster you until your voice went again. So
yeah, I appreciate
failure
that.
on my part.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Thanks for listening. If you made it this far, thanks. I love you. This is the Sports Hub Underground. I'm Matt Dolloff. He's Ty Anderson. Talking Bruins and hockey every single week. We're going to have plenty more for you, especially if and when the Bruins make it to the playoffs. They're 90% as of today. So, feels like they're going to make it, but still a tough schedule to go. We'll see how that goes. We'll see what happens with Hagens and, plenty more to get to in the coming days and weeks. But we'll leave you at that for now. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you again soon.